So, the fact that we're new technology, we have very low what's called tech debt. Our tech debt is measured in weeks, not months or years, decades in some cases with some of these older companies. And we think that really is an added advantage for us. With RBC Black, they've certainly taken advantage of those functions. They white label, and they've taken advantage of specific pieces of third-party integration that they want to offer their advisors.
When Alex Sauickie took over as the CEO of CircleBlack from his mentor and friend, John Michael, he was determined to continue the legacy that John built. By investing in new technology products, Alex's plans are to expand CircleBlack's presence in the RIA market and become the leading provider of integration and data services. I spoke to Alex about CircleBlack's new API-based data platform, their aggregator of aggregators technology, and a whole lot more on this episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Sit back and enjoy episode 92 of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, the founder and CEO of Ezra Group Consulting. If you work for an enterprise wealth management firm, an asset manager, an RIA aggregator, or at one of the many technology vendors in our space, then Ezra Group can help you make better business and technology decisions. Please come take a look at our products and services at our website, ezragroupllc.com. This podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around the wealth management technology industry. A couple of housekeeping tasks before I forget. Please be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. And now on with the interview. I am very happy to introduce my guest for this episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Is Alex Sauickie, CEO of CircleBlack. Alex, hey, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Greg. Really, really great to be here, Craig.
I'm glad you can make it. This is actually going to be our 92nd episode. So I'm glad we could squeeze you in before 100 because that'll be a big milestone. I'm glad we got you in before that. And I wanted to, I really feel like we were talking earlier about some of the things we were going to discuss on the podcast. So I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time going into what CircleBlack is. But first, if you can just give the 30-second overview of CircleBlack.
Yeah, CircleBlack is what we believe the unified best-of-breed advisor platform. We've been compared to your traditional all-in-one in that we do offer a lot of the different verticals of functionality within the traditional all-in-one. Including CRM integration, financial planning, risk and compliance. The difference that we think is that we offer it in terms of the ability to give you the third-party applications that you use every day integrated within our platform. Your traditional all-in-one typically is more of a one-stop shop. You go there, you get a lot of those same functions, but you get theirs. You get the ones that they have, whether they built them themselves or they've made them their own by way of acquisition. Our model is a little different in that we provide you a basic platform with what we consider sort of table stake pieces of functionality like portfolio management and performance reporting. But then we offer you really the ones that you use the most, like for CRM, for example, we have Salesforce, Wealthbox, and Redtail as integration partners. So that's really the big difference is we're more of a unified platform than we are an all-in-one.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time explaining what CircleBlack does to people, or what CircleBlack does when people ask me about it, because you're kind of a very different breed of company that I feel in the market. That most firms saying, here's what we do, and we also do integration. But it seems like your product and your core focus has always been, we are integrators, and we make things work better through our integrations.
That's right.
So can you elaborate a little bit on that, like specifically around like the RBC Black product and other platforms that have used your core technology as sort of the glue to hold their systems together?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first off, we're a fairly new technology, so we're using the latest and greatest technologies, which we think gives an added advantage over some of the others out there, in that we have the ability to integrate quicker. Our typical integration partnership takes 4 to 6 weeks, not months or years in some cases. We scale much better, so we have the ability to support very large clients like RBC Clearing and Custody, which is, as you mentioned, is a client of ours. And that integration is bidirectional, which a lot can claim that they have integration, which means typically that they can frame up the application within their platform. But our integration is bidirectional, meaning if you make a change within our platform, that change will be in your Salesforce application, for example, when you go to it later, if you do. If you make a change in Salesforce, it bidirectionally updates within the platform. So, the fact that we're new technology, we have very low what's called tech debt. Our tech debt is measured in weeks, not months or years or decades in some cases with some of these older companies. And we think that really is an added advantage for us. With RBC Black, they've certainly taken advantage of those functions. They white label and why they've labeled it the way they have, and they've taken advantage of specific pieces of third party integration that they want to offer their advisors. So they really have a choice. They can bundle it and offer a specific CRM, a specific risk and compliance tool, and a specific planning tool, if that's how they want to roll it out. Or a custodian like an RBC can also roll it out and allow the advisors, who are their custody advisors or correspondents, to choose which bundles they want. Very much like Roku. That seems to be resonating when we do explain it. And you're right. Sometimes it takes a little bit to explain it, but it seems like people get the Roku model, very similar to what you have in TV, and that you can go in, get a platform, get some basic functionality that are table stakes within the Roku platform, and then add the channels, if you will, that you want to choose. You're not being forced to choose what your traditional cable companies like Comcast or Optimum might offer. It's a similar model here.
Yes, let's expand on that, because I'm not sure everyone knows what Roku is. And so Roku is a digital media player, but one of the reasons why Roku became popular was they're one of the first to basically bundle up streaming services in one place. Yeah. So you could get, and I think Netflix was the first one they did, which was they're a bit ahead of the curve. So they had that when no one else had it. So you needed, everyone got a Roku box if they wanted Netflix streamed to their house. And then Roku started becoming the place to go to get everything streamed to one place. Now there's Hulu, there's lots of other services that are streaming providing multiple streaming services. So you're looking at yourself as like a bundling solution for other services. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, just like Roku, when you first open Roku and you log in, you get the Roku channel. So they give you some basic programming and functionality, and you could stop there, right? The same applies with CircleBlack. We provide you a platform. We provide you portfolio management, data consolidation of multiple custodians and third-party data, and performance reporting primarily. We have other features as well. But then if you also, like Roku, if you want to add the Disney channel, you have a family, you want to add Disney, you add the Disney channel. You want to add Apple TV, you want to add Netflix, as you mentioned. Those are all your choices, and they're your preference, and everybody has different preferences, right? The same thing applies in CircleBlack. You come in and you can then choose which additional features you want to add. If you need CRM, not everybody wants to use Salesforce. We have Salesforce integrated, Redtail integrated, and Wealthbox integrated. And as clients' needs demand it, we'll continue to add additional in that category alone. Risk and compliance, you have one of as many as 6 to choose from, and the same applies in all these other different verticals. But very similar to Roku in that experience, that's what you have with CircleBlack.
I wanted to go back a little bit. And so before you were the CEO of CircleBlack, you were president and COO of another really cool tech firm called Cyvantage, So are there some things you're bringing from your experience of Cyvantage? And I really like some of their products, like their client portal, their self-directed trading tools that were leveraged, where I think we're industry
Yeah.
leading. What are some of the things you learned at Cyvantage that you're using in your new role at CircleBlack?
Yeah, probably the one big one is widgets. Historically, Circle Black hasn't had the capability within its products to really offer its services to some of the larger financial institutions. And the difference being that most of the larger financial institutions, like your bigger banks, for example, tend to have their own front end. They've created it themselves. They want their IT folks to handle all of the changes. They really want to control that client experience. So they're really not looking for the full solution that historically Circle Black has offered. So today we offer our front end, our client portal, our advisor portal, and all the functionality embedded within those portals. And for the majority of our client base, that type of solution is needed. However, with widgets, we now will have the ability to offer pieces of functionality that those large financial institutions that own their front end can actually embed anywhere within their front end. So they're actually taking pieces of functionality. For example, if they wanted a performance report, a benchmark graph that compared the portfolio results to the actual benchmark, they could literally just take that tile or widget and embed that anywhere within their platform. That's something we're adding new this year. It is something we did at Cyvantage, to your point about the products there, and we're re-architecting as we speak to offer that functionality as early as Q2 of this year.
Is there specific is there specific technology that the vendor or the vendor or client would need to plug into these widgets? Are they universal? How do they work?
Yeah, they're universal, and the way we expect to offer that is within a developer's lab or workshop, if you will, where we present an area within our product that a developer can come in, find the specific widgets, understand what they need to do to write to it, and we'll provide all of that information, including documentation, that sort of thing. So it should be fairly straightforward, for anyone who's used to doing this type of work. But we'll set it up to make it easy to use, and something that you can choose which ones you end up wanting to use now, where you want to put them, and you can always come back later and grab additional functionality to embed somewhere else.
Excellent. So along with your third-party integrations and your widgets and the core of your platform, I know you're building out a data platform that will allow these integrations to plug in to what you might be calling a single sheet of glass or a single data access point, and you're building APIs around that. So can you talk about how that type of high quality data, the way you clean up and export your data, and be able to provide it through APIs is going to be able to change the way firms are working now?
Yeah. So first and foremost, our goal is to provide pristine data. It doesn't make sense to have more data if it's mediocre, right? Advisors I think, would rather have less data and it be pristine than the opposite. So in addition to the amount of data that we already consolidate, and we expect to expand our breadth of data, we're also continuing to improve our overall data quality. So we're taking steps not only with putting people around it, but systematic steps to proactively identify and resolve and reconcile data in a way that we haven't done in the past. And we're really taking it to the next level. And then with respect to access to it, our expectations are that you can consume that data obviously through our platform, which the majority of our clients do today. But we also expect to be able to provide that data either through APIs or through even somewhat of an older technology with exported data, where we would provide it in a flat file format, where users could then reuse that consolidated, clean data downstream in other systems. So if you needed to receive that data and put it in your own compliance tool. You have a proprietary compliance tool. If you're a large banker or broker dealer, we will provide that ability to get that data and use that golden copy of data, if you will, throughout other platforms and systems that you might have internally.
Yeah, I think that could be revolutionary, and it's something that a lot of firms don't realize is when you're bringing in, they think, well, let's just bring in outside data. Let's bring in aggregated data, for example, and we'll have it. They'll be great. They don't realize that a lot of it isn't clean. A lot of it is, isn't up to date. They may be bringing in data, but you're bringing it from thousands of sources, and they all have different standards as to what clean means.
That's right.
Hey, I want to take a break from this episode to talk about one of my favorite charities, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation. Invest in Others is a nonprofit that supports and empowers financial advisors who give back to their communities with overwhelming generosity. Now in its 15th year, Invest in Others has raised and distributed millions of dollars to worthy charities that are run by or assisted by financial advisors both in the U.S. and abroad. The Invest in Others Foundation is kicking off 2021 with a Restock the Shelves campaign. This past year, demand for food from nonprofits was at an all-time high. Last year, more than 50 million people experienced food insecurity. Now that the holiday season has ended, supplies at many food banks and shelters have dropped, but demand has not. To help restock the shelves, Invest in Others will award grants of up to $20,000 to nonprofits who are fighting hunger in their communities. If you work in the financial services industry and also volunteer for a 501c3 nonprofit that's in need of food items, apply for a grant from the Invest in Others Foundation on its behalf. They want to help you restock the shelves in your community this January. Applications will be accepted now through Friday, February 5th at investinothers.org/grants. So if you want to put your 501c3 nonprofit's name in for a grant of up to $20,000, please go to investinothers.org/grants. Right, so talking about your data, and I've talked about this with you guys a lot. I mean, when it comes to data aggregation, you don't just bring in one data aggregator. You bring in a bunch of data aggregators and you aggregate the aggregators and provide a consolidated feed. Can you explain a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, so we have feeds that we've developed for the major custodians. We are multi-custodian, which is I think, an advantage. Not everybody is, in that we can bring in data from multiple custodians, especially if you clear multiple custodians. And then we also have feeds to DST Fan Mail, Dazzle, and other third-party data aggregators. And to your point about data quality, each one of them could have various reasons for anomalies in their data, including operational. It could be simply an operational issue or a human error. So we have to account for all of those. And when you're bringing in millions of accounts daily, hundreds of millions of transactions and pieces of data, including things like prices, it's a lot. And you really need somebody that you can trust to be on top of that, to be proactive, to account for things like corporate actions, which if you spend any time there, those in themselves can be quirky. If it's a split or a spin-off, for example, those tend to be a little problematic in our business. But if we're doing what we're supposed to do across that, it should be fairly seamless. And we do it every night. So we're doing it overnight typically in a combination of flat files and APIs, and we make sense out of it and hopefully have it ready to go long before the market opens the next day.
I was reading that you have a patent pending on your multiple data aggregation. Is that still true? Did you get that patent yet?
It's still pending. Yeah, we're hoping to get that through, but those things seem to take a long time. So hopefully that, and we may have some others in the future. We'll see.
I also have some notes here that one of the unique things about your data aggregation solution, whereas most companies can't do accurate reporting on held away accounts because the data isn't clean and it's not transaction level clean. Whereas you build a brokerage accounting platform for each client to track every account and perform recon on it. Is that a true statement?
That's true. That area, admittedly, always has some concerns, and it really depends on the technology of the partner that's we're integrating with. Yodely being one that's very well known, but that is a challenging piece of technology and a challenging way to bring in data. It started out, as I'm sure you know, as more of a screen scraping type of function. And historically, the problem with that has always been if the financial institution that the client uh, enabled within that product changed their screen in any way, it broke the connection. We're seeing challenges there now with MFA, with multi-factor authentication being so widely rolled out right now, that while the security is important without a doubt, that MFA and that extra step seems to be causing some problems in that area. So it's something we're working with our partners on and looking to ensure that we keep the client experience good, in addition to the data quality as clean as we can participate in making it.
Yeah, it's more important than a lot of firms realize, especially from an independent provider such as yourself, that you're not in the data aggregation game on your own. You're just bringing in these other vendors and providing an objective viewpoint. Here's what we think is the best data. We're bringing in from Yodely and Quovo and by all accounts and these other firms, as you mentioned, and we're providing you with the best feed from across all of those. So why would that be important? Why not just pick one and use the data from one of them? Why is it important to bring it in from across all of these different vendors?
Well, like everything else on our platform, a lot of it's preference. Each product has their own different nuances and features that clients like, some better than others. Whether it's user experience or financial institutions that they can add via one versus the other. And again, we're from our perspective, we're indifferent to which product that a client chooses. We look at any partner that we choose needs to be value add to our platform. They need to be around, right? We definitely don't want to integrate with a partner that may go away at some point and cause disruption to our user base. But we look at different aspects of all partnerships, including this area, where we first determine what's the client need, what are clients using, and then we're also looking at different options. There may be a quote higher end option within a particular space. For example, you may see Salesforce as the high end option within CRM, and another CRM as more of a more inexpensive, less feature rich option, and that's okay. We have clients that may want the super feature rich option of Salesforce, and maybe just something basic for client management and contact management on a product that's a little less feature rich and maybe a little less little less expensive. So we think about those things when we consider any partnership in any one of those verticals, and we'll continue to let clients drive it, and we expect to expand our number of partnerships and integrations fairly dramatically this year and going forward.
I think we spoke earlier. You said that you were adding Adapar this year. Is that still going to happen?
Yeah, that is started. So we're adding Adapar as a data feed, very similar to what we do with the custodian and third-party data aggregator feeds. We just finished Black Diamond as a feed. So where some may view both Black Diamond and Adapar as a competitor, we embraced it. If you decide that your data aggregation through a Black Diamond or an Adapar is the way you want to go, and maybe you've been working with them for a couple of years, but you see other features that you need from the CircleBlack platform for things most notably like our investor portal, we can take that data feed in, keep it consistent, meaning that's kind of your golden copy of data that you use within those platforms. We'll take the same feed in, load it into our platform, and then you can take advantage of features within our platform like the investor portal.
those two vendors you just mentioned are very different in terms of the data they provide. Addepar is their strength
Mhm.
is illiquid assets, private partnerships, limited partnerships, private equity, and those types
Yeah.
of things. Whereas Black Diamond is more of a consumer focused, mass affluent type of product. So, how would
Right.
a firm use those data feeds? Is that just for performance reporting, or are there other ways that those feeds can be used through your product?
Well, primarily through performance reporting, and that includes basic householding type of accounts. But where we can provide performance on the data, we will. Whether it's provided to us in the feed, which we can take in data that's already been reconciled and performance added to it, or we can perform performance on the data ourselves. And it's really just about, like you said, the differences in the underlying data and what ultimately we would need to do to add to it. So if we're not getting performance from a particular provider, we'll be able to calculate that performance. If in fact performance is provided, we'll take it in and we'll display that as a result. So there's various ways that we can extract and load and present data. It really just depends on the feed, and that's not just Black Diamond or Addepar. It's really across the entire database. I mean, really, whatever the data is whatever form the data is coming in, we have to consider it, and in a lot of cases make adjustments to our own feeds to account for it appropriately.
I think that's something else that differentiates you from a data aggregation vendor, in that you bring in the cash flows and
Mhm.
transactions so that you can run
That's right.
performance, as opposed with most
Right.
vendors they're just doing holdings, just positions, which is what you see
Yeah.
normally on a held away account on a client portal. Here's what you have, but
Mhm.
they don't run performance on that, so that gives you a bit of an advantage. So how would firms take advantage of that? So, for example, would it be help me for doing consolidated reporting? So, if I'm using multiple systems, but I want to report it on one statement, would your feeds help that?
Oh, without a doubt. In fact, I'd say that's sort of the secret sauce, our back end and our data consolidation. It really is going out to all of these disparate data sources and understanding the firm, the advisor, and the investor relationship, and all of the accounts and transactions that go along with that. So and you're doing it in massive quantities, right? Hundreds of millions of transactions, millions and millions of accounts, and and across multiple client bases and sources. So the ability to bring that in, make sense out of it, create the relationship across, again, all of these different data sources is really key to what we do. In fact, I'd call that probably the biggest value add that we have. It all really starts there, and of course, then making sure that that data is in really good shape, virtually pristine, is really what we strive for. And really, everything else that comes with it starts there. So you're really you're not going to love your performance reports if the underlying data isn't in good shape. So the fact that we can do that and get that right is really key to everything else.
This is a problem we've seen with a lot of firms that we work with, where they don't understand the complexities of the data. Either they're trying to convert data from the vendor and think it's going to be easy,
Mhm.
they'll just move it over and it won't be a problem. They wind up spending weeks or months cleaning the data because they messed up the
Yeah,
performance, especially for firms that have 10 or 20 or even longer year relationships with clients. That's a lot of data. And if you
yeah,
mess up that data or it's not calculated correctly, it could take a long time to fix. So, I mean, I've heard some firms talk about, well, we don't do daily, but we'll do monthly. But then if you try to do a report intra-month or between certain days of the month, you can't because you've dumped all that data. So is that
yeah.
something you provide? How would a firm work with you if they wanted to do that and wanted to get their performance reporting from multiple places using your technology?
Yeah, so that occurs today in that different data providers provide on different time schedules. For example, DST FanMail provides monthly position files rather than weekly, or in some cases even daily positions from certain providers. Having both transactions and positions makes it much easier to confirm the data quality. You're comparing all the transactions that you've added up since the last position file against the most current position file. So in the case of a provider that does it on a monthly basis, we have to do the calculations based on getting the transactions correct. So we'll get a position file at the end of February. Everything that happens on a transaction basis then would need to be calculated. All the buys and sells that came in on, what was 100 shares of IBM at the end of the month should add to 200 shares of IBM if we did it correctly. And then the position file that came in at the end of the month should confirm that. So it's important that we actually get all of that data in between correctly when you see less frequent position files to confirm it against. So that's an example of where we really have to be good at what we do, and take steps to help make the data as good as it can be.
Alex, would you mind if I asked you about John Michael?
No, not at all.
Okay. So Alex, you took over CircleBlack as a CEO after the death of their founder and CEO, John Michael. Can you talk a little bit about the legacy that John left in building the firm to the state it was in when you took it over, and how that sort of changed the way the industry is going?
Yeah, well, you may not know, but I actually knew John Michael, and he was really a behemoth in this space. Literally, he was a big man, and he when he entered a room, you knew it. I was lucky enough to actually work with John back in the '90s at Merrill Lynch. It's a crazy thing how small this financial services industry is that we work in. John and I worked together on a project that was his idea back in the '90s, and it grew into what is now called Merrill Edge. It was his idea. I was actually hired to execute on that idea and build it. So it's not lost on me that here, we are 25 years later, and I'm sort of doing the same thing again. And it just by pure coincidence, it really is something to when you think about it. What John left though was a great company and a great product. When I was first asked to interview with CircleBlack, what really grabbed my attention right away was it's a product that solves a problem, and anytime you have that, you're in pretty good shape. And not only does it solve a problem, it solves a problem better than most. The fact that he left a product that is so open in its integration, its ability to work with partners and integration partners in a quick way. I mean, weeks, 4 to 6 weeks for an integration with a world-class third party is unheard of, frankly. And I've been doing this for a long time, and to really see that ease of integration and the client experience that it creates is really something. So, he not only left me a good company to work with, he left me a great group of people to work with. All the folks that were here when I got here are still here, which is a testament to the folks that John surrounded himself with. And they all have a lot of passion for this company. And I hope they see I've embraced that passion as well. And we've done a lot of good things in the first 6 months since I've been here, but I really feel like we're just getting started.
Yeah, I was lucky to meet John as well, and I knew him for a while, and I interviewed him on my podcast. He was one of my first winners of Wealth Tech. So I did a whole an hour-long interview just on him. How he got to the industry, starting at Merrill, and his time at West Point. And so it was really interesting to hear, because you don't really learn this stuff when you just read the news about people, or you just meet him at a conference. So being able to spend the time to really get into who he was as a person, how he got this way, who were his influences, I thought was really valuable, and I was lucky to have the time to talk to him. And I was lucky to have the time to talk to you, and appreciate you spending the time to talk to us here on the podcast and share all this with us.
Well, my pleasure, and I'd love to come back sometime.
I have another 20 questions to ask you that we didn't get to, Alex, so we'll definitely have you back on. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Frank.
Hey, it's Craig again. So my three takeaways from this interview are I'm really looking forward to the data platform, API-based data platform that CircleBlack is building. I really feel that the different silos that financial advisory data is always broken out into CRM, financial planning, wealth management, or other portfolio management, portfolio accounting, performance reporting. Everything's a separate silo. It really isn't efficient or effective, and it's just sort of the way we've always done things. So I'm always looking for vendors that have unique ways of bringing all the data together into either some sort of data lake or other type of data, a centralized data storage process. So I think CircleBlack's got some good technology there that can make a difference. I'm always interested in data aggregation, especially since there really isn't a very good way to measure, as I mentioned, data aggregation, vendors, who's the best and why. It's all anecdotal. We get it from our interviews with different vendors and working with different platforms. We sort of get a feel for which vendors are better in what areas, but there's no real statistics or objective viewpoint. So I'm always looking to talk to different vendors, especially CircleBlack, because they bring in so many different feeds and aggregate the aggregators, and they have a really good view across all the different platforms. So that's the end of this episode. As I said, please go to our website, ezragroupllc.com, and subscribe to our newsletter, and keep an eye out for webinars. We're going to have a couple webinars going this year, so please keep an eye out for that and register for them when you see them on our website. You can follow me on social media on Twitter at Craig Iskowitz, and I'll see you all again next time.